And welcome to the WeRCC podcast. This is episode 36. I am joined this week by Mr. and Jared Woodard. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Go ahead, mister.
Fantastic. Happy Halloween.
You stole
Feeling good
mine.
about markets.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, please, by all means.
No, I said I was going to say fantastic.
Oh, we've been doing this together way too long. Get out of my brain, sir.
Yeah, it is Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. And I just hope the markets aren't too spooky tonight during trick or treat. Yeah, so, as always, we're going to kick off with a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of macro. I know, the first thing on my mind this week, one, markets don't look too bad. Two, in 2 days, the U.S. Fed is going to shake things up. It's the next FOMC on the 2nd, right?
Yes, I do believe that's at 2 p.m. Eastern. So that's, East Coast.
Yeah. And, there's always a lot of great streams that you can tune into to watch the FOMC live. And although he's not here this week because he's down with COVID, Tom Crown was going to be here and he couldn't make it because he was at it was a Litecoin conference, I think, last week. But he always does the FOMC streams, and they're a lot of fun. So hopefully if he has his voice back, he lost his voice, which seems pretty rough for a YouTube guy. Check it out. You can check out his stream. It's a little shill for Tom Crown. So, but other than that, we've seen some interesting price action over the past week. And it goes without saying the top mover was, gentlemen, you get one guess.
The BTC.
Doge.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Jared, did you really mention BTC?
I haven't been paying attention so much.
No, Dogecoin.
If anything, ETH, man. ETH was on a tear.
ETH was. ETH did actually make the top 10 big, crypto movers so looking at across the top 100 from the past week. Ethereum was number 9. It was a pretty healthy move. I know that because I was about to buy some NFTs and then I watched Ethereum just rocket. And then I decided maybe I should rethink it, But number 1 was Doge. Yes, Doge. And if you look at the 7-day, according to CoinMarketCap, 7-day movement was over 100%. We know exactly who to thank for that, which is Elon. And probably, his loyal following of influencers and that purchase. So basically to pump Doge up to 12 cents again, it took a $40 billion investment in Twitter. So maybe $1's around the corner. I don't that's how I look at it. I think, what did it take to pump Doge that far? It took $40 billion, really.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I'm often a Doge hater, but at this point, it's like, and I hate to have this mindset. Like, I remember when the deal was going through, I'm like, I should buy Doge. This is easy money, and I went and did something else and didn't do that. And like looking back at it, it's like, yep.
Yeah. What were you thinking? We've even said it on here. I think we've said repeatedly.
We literally talked about it on here.
Yeah, I've got so many things. I'm like trying to do projects and things like that. To like taking 10 minutes to go log into my account, move some funds around, and ape into something. I'm like, nah, I don't need to know. I don't need an easy, double $1,000.
No, the reason I hesitated, I bought a little bit. I always just buy a little bit of Doge. But the reason I didn't buy more was because I just wasn't sure that the deal was going to go through. It really seemed like Elon, to me, it seemed like he wasn't interested in buying Twitter for the longest time. Like maybe he was just doing Elon things and just messing around.
Yeah.
Yep. But I was wrong. I was very wrong.
Well, but I mean, like we did see when it was coming through, you saw the news and the tweets more and more. And I know it clicked internally for me where I'm like, go buy some Doge, go do that right now. And I ignored that part of myself. And oof.
Yeah. So there were some other big movers this week. Shiba did follow its big brother Doge, moved about 25% in the past week. It's pretty good. And then we had some familiar faces. So Cosmos, Avalanche, and BNB all moved around 20 to 22% in the past week. That's pretty spicy. I believe I saw something about BNB maybe even hitting an all-time high in its Bitcoin pairing. So that's actually pretty impressive. I think BNB is one of the few things to outperform Bitcoin, isn't it, over the past few years?
Interesting. And I was the CEO of Binance. He was part of the Bitcoin buy. I'm sorry, not the Bitcoin buy, the Twitter buy.
Yeah, yeah. There's quite a few crypto focus centric investors in that. I think A16Z might have been as well. But yeah, Binance definitely.
Yeah, they claim that they're only temporarily helping with the Twitter deal, but who knows what that means. But yeah, it looks like Andreessen Horowitz is definitely involved. Your favorites, Pap. We got more VC activity going on.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Well, I mean, I don't know where else you're going to find $40 billion sitting around. So kind of get it. And actually it makes me kind of bullish because these are big players, especially Binance. And when asked about it, they're talking about how to introduce or how to integrate Web3 into Twitter more, which to me implies Twitter will in itself become a kind of a crypto platform, pseudo crypto platform. I mean, its primary mission, I'm sure, will always remain tweeting things, posting things, 200 characters or less. But there's this kind of increasing likelihood that a significant portion of its kind of infrastructure, its code, its services are going to be crypto centric or Web3 centric, right? And utilize some of the technology that we have in the space. That's going to be really cool. I mean, you think about some of the possibilities, and there's so many. I mean, we already have some lightweight NFT integration and lightweight, wallet tipping integration, but it could go so much deeper.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to become a protocol, for Twitter to become a protocol, but I think it's also kind of ironic because that is what Jack Dorsey's final vision for Twitter was to be before he basically took his ball and went home, right? And focused on building other protocols, Web3 protocols. I think it's really interesting, but also ironic. But good to see. Would love to see Twitter become a protocol.
Yeah, I wonder what the odds are that it would actually use Jack's backend. Like, to me, I have no doubt that Twitter is going to become more and more Web3. Not necessarily because that's what Twitter or Elon wants, but because that's what the market's going to demand.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of interesting projects. I've seen a lot of back and forth about the fallout of Elon buying Twitter and things like that. And really, either Twitter goes Web3 or something else displaces it. I know personally, I know projects, some friends that are working on a project that has good funding, and they're building a decentralized like Discord kind of situation. There's a lot of stuff like that coming out. Like the consequences of big tech and the walled gardens and treating everyone like a data cow is to be milked is coming to an end. Just people aren't tolerating that now that the technology's there.
And did you see the? I mean,
I'm gonna miss getting. Never mind.
Losing all of your personal information to yet another business getting hacked. Yeah. Did you see some of the other updates?
Mm-hmm. No, just real quick to Jared's point about what the actual realization of a Web3 protocol might look like for Twitter. At the end of the day, though, we're going to see a lot of tech transition to Web3 because really tech is now Web3, right? And maybe Web2 tech, just not all of them see it yet. But that is what this is going towards, right? It is the new web. It is the new way of building in tech, and I think we're going to start to see a lot of massive platforms kind of shift over. Whether or not Twitter's actual Web3 realization is anything close to what Jack Dorsey had initially visioned, I totally agree with Jared. I don't think that that's a guaranteed, right? Because Jack didn't seem as much focused on it being a revenue generating product, to be honest, right? Whereas Elon's on the hook for billions, right? So he's got to make sure this thing makes money. But yeah, it's just really interesting. I think it's good to see this movement really start to materialize in a real way, and maybe Twitter becomes kind of the flag bearer for that.
Well, and there's okay, like signing into a website with your wallet instead of having to make an account and hope that they protect your information and things like that. That's one small dimension that radically improves from the web to the Web3 experience. And frankly, I'm like, shame on the entire crypto industry for not making that a realization. Like, we've been around for long enough that we could have gotten that experience to everyone. And push that, like just let people know that that option's there. Like, look, you don't have to have this world where you're trusting these websites with your personal information or your logins, your passwords, your email addresses, things like that. We have these alternatives and they're easy to implement. So, but yeah, absolutely. I think as people are becoming more and more aware of the options out there, just Web2's done.
Yeah. Or it's
Along
just
with Web 2.
it's being assimilated, right, into Web3.
Yeah, it's a transition. I mean, we saw the same thing happen. Remember Lycos pages? I mean, remember Web 1? It was definitely an experimental phase, and Web 2 was kind of a scaling phase. And I think Web 3 is really just the post scaling. It's actually building what should have been built from the beginning. So it's taken 20 years to get out of this kind of experimental and scaling phases, and we're seeing very similar adoption trends in crypto, Web3 et al, so to speak. It's just that the 20 years of experimentation and scaling that it's taken, quote unquote, big tech is being compressed into a handful of years, right? And that, I think that's great for me, as a recovering tech bro, right? Well, I did never consider myself tech bro, just to be honest, just to be clear. But as a recovering tech bro, I mean, it's really good to see that there is this kind of mind shift happening out there, not just among corporates, but certainly among the tech workers themselves.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think the marketplace is where it's at, and I think it's something that people are going to demand. We've been hurt too many times in the past.
And did you guys see, this is a feature I like. I know I'm the resident NFT guy, but the Twitter app is going to start showing basically previews of NFTs if they're from the following marketplaces: Rarible, Magic Eden, Dapper Labs, and Jump Trade NFT. I don't know why they chose those four. The only one I've personally used is Rarible. I do know of Magic Eden and Dapper. Not so sure about the fourth one, but they'll show the expanded image of the NFT if it's a picture, a link to the marketplace, the creator information. I think it's pretty cool. It's
interesting,
and it's kind of a step of better integrating the artist, the real vision that they had for their artwork versus the sometimes challenging the challenge of posting or downscaling images to post on Twitter. Because let's face it, Twitter today isn't really viewed as one of those platforms used by a lot of artists, perhaps not as much as some others out there. So this is just another step towards making that a better experience. Pretty excited about that.
Well, and it's a step towards Web3 for Twitter,
Yep. So looking at the rest of
you guys,
mm-hmm.
Will you guys pay $20 a month for the blue check mark and Twitter Blue? That's the big question. How much do you love Web3, guys? Is it?
But it's part of my professionally, I use Twitter for like my job, so I'm kind of in on that, and also like my company pays for it, so sure.
Yeah, I need to see more info on that.
Company love.
But it is nice that they're offering an option to everyone to get that instead of whatever murky, mysterious, path to getting that now, because it's just too easy to make a fake account. I mean, ask Tom Crown. I must have had at least 20 fake Tom Crowns message me over the past year. Twitter is awful for that, for the bots and for the fake accounts.
Oh, it's rife. Yeah, it's horrible, and it hasn't changed, not a bit. I remember it came onto my radar in 2017 for the bust or the boom cycle. I was working at Coinbase at the time, and of course, anyone says anything goes on, and we're getting tagged by 1 million bots, or someone says something, and there's 1 million bots for whatever crypto, or scams, stuff like that, and yep, nothing's been done about it for forever. So hopefully that changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. So I did want to know one other interesting move in the top 10, and then we're going to move into some of the NFT movement over the past week. But there's a single metaverse coin in the top 10. And metaverse really hasn't been a bullish theme for quite a while now. All the metaverse projects have dropped off. Meta itself obviously has become kind of a joke among many people about its performance year to date. But the sandbox actually is up almost 20% in the past week. Now, I have not taken the time to see why, but it is noteworthy that the sandbox, in my opinion, is it feels like it's kind of leading the pack right now. I know the other side, the other deed, at some point is probably going to have its time to shine, but yeah, you got to give a little respect to Sandbox. I'm impressed at that price action there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make a really good point about, I wonder what the long-term impact of Meta's kind of continued, failing is going to have on the metaverse, but, the lowercase m metaverse, picking back up in terms of like awareness, interest, adoption.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have an impact. I'm just not sure what. I know that Zuckerberg appears to be doubling down on his metaverse play, which investors clearly aren't happy about. I do think that there's potential there. I don't know if the way he's going about it is going to be successful. So we'll see. Either way, it raises the visibility in the general public for some of the things that we're doing, because metaverse, at least in Web3, metaverse is a very crypto kind of centric thing, even if it is much bigger than just us.
One, like, Facebook doesn't have the best reputation for like privacy and, care and concern and with people and stuff like that, or decentralization, those kinds of things. So, and Meta is a very not Meta, but like the metaverse is crypto, and crypto is very decentralization. So it didn't seem like a great, it's especially to go through the rebranding like that. That was just nuts to me. Like you have had this successful branding forever, and then you're going to go and switch that up when the market share wasn't necessarily changing for Facebook. So kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, I heard, and I'm not studying these kind of things, but I do think the Facebook brand is kind of dated, right?
Oh, absolutely. But it's not broken in the sense of like
True.
it wasn't tanking, and it was a reliable cash cow. And now, but it's also like a boomer fest. You don't see young people on Facebook, which tells you where it's headed, which is, I think, part of their reasoning to go to Meta and something like that, or to try to focus on the metaverse. But I think they went a little too hard in that.
Yeah, maybe.
It just all reminds me of like how Comcast rebranded as Xfinity after they took all that, public beating, on their brand for just being a really crap company, and they survived, and now they're printing money, right? Xfinity is doing very well, but is it going to work for Facebook Meta?
Well, see, here's the thing.
Sure.
I did not know that Comcast had rebranded to Xfinity, and now that I know that,
there you go. Right?
So, but everyone knows that Facebook rebranded to Meta.
True. Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing it play out over the next few years. I don't think there's going to be any major metaverse, revolution, honestly, for a little bit. And I think it's going to come in a few forms. You're going to have the gaming side. And to me right now, you already have a lot of pseudo metaverse. I mean, so many games are online. You have so many MMORPGs and online lobbies and or games like Fortnite, right? That have hosts live music events. That's not a far reach, but extending that into your personal life and into the productivity side when businesses are using the metaverse, which in some ways feels inevitable, an extension of what we do now with, say, Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. There is something there, but I don't think it meaningfully exists yet. And I don't know that Facebook's going to be the one to bring it. But best of luck. Right. They at least own the name Meta.
There you go. They got the ticker too. So there's that. But I am, there is a world where Meta does succeed, right? Because they do have the cash on hand to keep burning with Reality Labs, which is the division of the engineering team inside Facebook that's working on the metaverse, right? They can burn the cash. The investors aren't going to like it, but they do have the war chest and they can do it. My one hope, or the only way that I see it working, is if they can fully realize their vision for metaverse. I do have friends that work there, and a couple of them are PMs. They're product guys, and the laundry list of their long term goals for the platform in terms of identity management, being able to plug into decentralized applications all natively within that VR space. Those are things that are really, really compelling. It's just a question of execution. And from an execution standpoint, it doesn't look like they're executing right now very well. Certainly, they aren't marketing it or giving previews of it effectively, because all it's doing is making people make fun of them. But I mean, if they can survive this phase and get to that fully baked product with that full vision, there is something there. Because I mean, Pap, I have talked about this before about wouldn't it be great if we could start to see DeFi applications become native banks within the metaverse? And I think that is a platform that Facebook is really starting to build out. Again, it's just a question of if they can make it there.
Yeah, I see. I think that, as I've said a lot of times, I think that DAOs are the next big thing. Offer a great opportunity for just making any kind of organization far more efficient and open, predictable, auditable, all of those things. And so, and with that, I think some form of digital interaction, like upgrading that in some way, touches more on this metaverse kind of world. I don't see it being that everyone decides on one kind of like interface. I could see it being like there being many, many options out there. And I would be very surprised if some overwhelming like standard or majority like metaverse app came out like for the next couple decades. Like I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation on that front. And personally, I don't think things are going to go well for Meta for a while, because it's like Facebook. A lot of these big tech companies are just they have the reputation now for abusing our data and milking us for data and really manipulating our experience. They like some really creepy ways. Like you say toilet paper, and all of a sudden you start seeing ads, or for something, or you mentioned new car, and then all of a sudden you start seeing these ads pop up in your feed and stuff. It's like, that's creepy, So I think they've hurt too much trust to get a large share of the market into really intimate levels of feeding people their experience.
Web3 fixes that.
Yes.
Maybe. Yes, we'll see. Time will tell. Maybe. These are that is the promise of Web3, among other things, though. When you look up the definition of Web3, I mean, it depends on which website, I suppose, but the discussion of not just financial sovereignty, but to take ownership of your personal data across the web and choose whether or not and when you want to profit from it, sell it, trade it, do whatever, monetize it. And we're just not at that point right now with Web 2. Right now, we have so few freedoms. I know the European region had enacted some reasonable privacy laws, but even then, that's not going to stop a lot of the data gathering on people. And I would love to see that as one of the things that the Web3 space champions more in the coming years.
Absolutely. Like digital sovereignty. That's like, if it's not for that and the financial freedom, pack it up, go home.
I really think Twitter would be able to pull that off way better and sooner, way more likelier, is that a word? And sooner than Facebook would, Meta.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about NFTs, but honestly, there's not a whole lot to talk about this week. There was some excitement from the Clone X community. There's going to be an upcoming airdrop, and as tends to happen when these big leading projects within an ecosystem get an airdrop, you often see a rally in price and more trading. So we did see a rise there. A lot of the usual suspects are there. I guess you could acknowledge that crypto dick butts almost made it to the top 10 over the past week. And I don't know why. I couldn't tell you.
It's the internet, man.
The floor on those is almost 3 ETH. I mean, that also just blows me away. Memes are so powerful, man. Although, can we just
well, speaking of memes and market, we saw a little GameStop rally today as well. That was interesting.
Oh, I think you might be in the wrong podcast on that one, sir.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Was this not Wall Street Bets? Sorry, guys.
No, yeah, GameStop. I haven't really watched. I'm curious to know how their NFT marketplace is doing, though. I haven't really poked my head in there for a month. We'll have to look into that for next month.
Well, to cycle back to a previous topic. Sorry, I didn't bring this up then.
Crypto dick butts.
Yeah. The integration on Twitter with these different NFT platforms, I'm curious, why not OpenSea? That seems to be the most ubiquitous everyone would go to, or that OpenSea has the money and funds to throw it at Twitter. What happened there?
Yeah, that was interesting. When I said the same thing, actually. I wasn't sure why OpenSea wasn't on there. And there's some other notable marketplaces not on there, but OpenSea obviously being an interesting exclusion. Potentially, if they're looking at scaling solutions, maybe, or further integration, I should say, with the marketplaces, and they want to do more scalable solutions, maybe. But even OpenSea it supports a pretty wide range of chains now, including Polygon. So that maybe makes less sense. We'll look into it, see if we find out. Now I'm not saying this project's bad. I could be completely wrong. It could be some fantastic project that is just really great community and really smart investment, but it's probably not. There's number 13, highest ranking trading volume in NFT space over the past week was a project called the Bull Bitcoin Club. But what I get a kick out of is, there's no Bitcoin involved anyways. As you buy it in BSC, and the floor on it right now is just $3 to $4. You just see these projects, and sometimes I just wonder who buys this stuff. I mean, maybe if you're trying to do a quick flip, I guess.
Yeah, thankfully it's reflected in the price that not a lot of people are just jumping into it, but yeah, that's nuts to me. But then again, it seems like the market has had so low standards and has had absence of scruples when it comes to like checking in on things, that I can understand how people that just don't care think they can get away with it. I think it'll be a good idea.
Oh, you're right. There is a significant part of the market from the creator side that don't care; they just want money, and from the investing side, the traders, the degens that just out there flip anything. And I mean anything. There's some really awful projects out there, but some of these projects fake their volume. That's why I always think it's interesting, though, to see some of these that they clearly are just not going to be around in a year. To me, right? I can be wrong. Maybe it's a fantastic project, and I apologize if it is. But that, like the Bull Bitcoin Club, I don't think we're going to see that in another week. And I don't know. That's what I think we talked about it before, which is, sometimes you have that thought in your head, like it would be easier just if I had no morals, just to try and like rug the heck out of the space, right?
Yep. Or you just had no concern for your long-term reputation, things like that. Although these days people will throw obscene amounts of money at totally anon, participants with zero recourse or way of holding them accountable.
Well, welcome to crypto.
That would be the hugest red flag. I totally respect being able to operate as an anon, but you got to give me some way of holding your funds accountable, for community controlling the funds, or start super organic and appeal only to the morals and the values of the thing, and you don't expect a wave of funds coming in.
So you're saying avoid Pappy Coin, at all costs.
Anything with a non-dev, be extra skeptical. I'm not saying don't participate, but be super, or not just a non-team members at all, period. Like, come on. You've got no way to hold them accountable, like not even in like the court of public opinion, things like that. So it just be and I'm not saying, again, not saying don't participate with the nons, just hold them to a higher standard of like scruples and things like that, and double checking. The best would ideally be that if they are raising some funds, they're locked in a contract, and either the community votes on when and how much to release, or it's timed on how much they release, and there's some mechanism for the community to vote to have all those, like, have like whatever, percentages and such of those funds returned, or burnt or whatever. Just don't turn over millions of dollars to someone you have no way to, to hold accountable.
Yeah, that brings to mind one of my favorite projects, Pixelmon.
I'm not familiar with it.
What?
Oh, that's a minute.
Yeah.
You need to post that, Pat.
You really, wait, maybe we didn't have you here when the whole Pixelmon thing went down?
Not familiar.
Okay. This is going to be a chance to have a reaction video. So actually I'll show you the best art in the project. This is the best that they have.
Post it in the live stage chat.
In the live stage chat. Oh, on Discord?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So this was the very best. And I mean, it's the only one that held any value. There are others, and I'm not exaggerating. There are other ones that, like, they're in different ecosystems, right? The character models were in a grass field. Except the grass was bigger than the character model. So when you opened it, when it hatched, you didn't see anything. And keep in mind that when these, let me pull it up. When these first, let's see, go to all-time chart. I'm actually looking at the chart now. Yeah, activity, all-time. So it minted out. I think they earned $70 million on the mint.
What?
Yeah. They earned $70 million. The average price in February was around, peaked. This is average, peaked around 2 ETH, but I think some people paid a lot more than that. Actually, in October, it's starting to tick back up. But as it turned out, so they made $70 million. The reveal was awful. It turns out they'd paid some kids on Fiverr or something to like make that art. And of course. And then the founder really had no plan either. It was a lot of drama, man. But this is the kind of thing where like you just don't do any research, right? And I guess they did occasionally like leak some artwork that looked much better than that, and then they just kind of tricked everyone. But wow. You can hedge your bet, hedge your investment. Manage your risk by at least doing a little bit of research into the team and to what you're investing in. Because when people bought that, don't
be so sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, just keep in mind too, ETH. What was ETH's value back then? Like people spent $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on one of these things.
Well, and don't be so like gung ho to jump into something and afraid you're going to miss out on the next big thing to not double check.
Yeah. I mean, it's FOMO is kind of a hard thing to resist sometimes. And I guess, like another good one is maybe other side, other deed, right? You think it's Yuga, it's going to be a good buy. And maybe if you got lucky that first day and you did a flip and you didn't pay too much in gas, which seems like a low % of the market, most other people kind of got pretty fairly wrecked on that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people spent more on gas than they did, which cost them more than the floor price today.
What would you call a project that isn't a scam? Let's say the devs and the community, the people that started had good intentions or had no intention of like messing people up. They just see this big money opportunity and they're like, hey, I gotta go play too. I want to be a part of that. But they're not competent. They don't have a good plan. And most importantly, okay, their community of people that fund them don't really hold them to any kind of standard or hold them in any way accountable or anything like that. So what would you call a project like that? Because like I don't think it's fraud to me personally, or maybe it is fraud.
Well,
If you are like making the
I
case,
don't think it is, right?
yeah,
And it's really hard to prove intent, but I think when it's on chain, that intent is pretty rock solid. But I think what you're speaking to, though, is very, it harkens to um, angel investing, right? And I think what kind of like chaps your hide sometimes, if I know you well enough by now, Jared, is that what Web3 has enabled is this democratization of angel investing. Like anybody can be an angel investor. You don't have to be accredited. You don't have to have a certain amount of wealth to provide a seed round or an angel round, right?
true,
And
yeah,
that's where crypto is right now. It is all angel investing. It is all experimentation. It is actually more likely that your investment will go to zero than it will make you a million. But if you have a diversified enough basket of these angel investments, then something's got to hit, right? A la
yeah,
Andreessen Horowitz, right? They only needed, they waste billions of dollars, but they just need that one to hit every once in a while, and they're good,
yep.
And now they're in a place where hey, they have multiple wins over a certain period of time. So for me, I wouldn't call it that. I think that is um, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because it is the democratization of finance. It is allowing the small guys to have a piece. And if you look at, Web 2 or big tech or whatever fintech you want to call it today, you're starting to see these platforms where non-accredited investors can get a piece of pre-IPO companies, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's angel seed, A rounds, right? You can get that fractional ownership on private shares. We've been doing that in crypto for years now. But the other, which is great, but the other side of that sword is, don't forget, most angel investments go to zero,
That's okay.
and that's where we get people getting hurt.
You're absolutely right. That's a very good point. Well, and I don't know, like, are they getting hurt? Like it was their choice to do the thing. That's with that, what they're getting involved in, like they own the consequences. I'm totally with the like financial sovereignty. I absolutely like there shouldn't be these kinds of barriers for investment and things like that. Everyone should be able to spend their money how they want, Um, but, on that, people are going to spend their money on not the best of ideas at times. And I guess it's a self-solving problem because you're accountable in the sense that you lose your money when you make a bad choice. So there's the consequence, So that's it. Have higher standards, folks.
Yeah, like have higher standards. I'm with you on that one. Like for every angel investor that invested in PayPal back in the day, there was an angel investor that invested in diapers.com and pets.com. So although pets.com didn't, it revived itself okay, but Petco,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, it is very much a free market in the world we operate in, and the regulators are not having that today. But we'll see where this all lands. I think it's a really interesting experiment, and I'm still 100% in it. And I love it for the tech.
Yeah.
Risks are what they are. You just have to go in with open eyes.
Yeah, I guess just for the meme or the communicating about it, I don't want to call something like that a scam, assuming the people behind it aren't malicious. I'm just trying to think of like what's a good way to articulate that. Like that's a bad idea. I don't know what to label it.
Yeah. Well, it's just a lower barrier to entry in Web3, right? Anyone can go out. Like I could go and probably within an hour have a Twitter set up, a copy of a contract, and some generic art ready to go for an NFT project. But that doesn't mean it's a good idea for other people to invest in me. And same for tokens, right? I could go make a dog token in 10 minutes. And,
Yeah. Okay, no, here I got it.
And the barriers are getting lower by the day. You have platforms that make this point really one click easy, right? You can just configure what you want, click execute, and they build the smart contract, the token. They provide IDO
That's cool.
services. It's but I think that's needed, right? To your various points, Jared. I think having that democratization is that phase that we're in this experiment, right? We are early. We haven't even hit that scaling part yet, right? And that scaling part is just around the corner, but we're still struggling with the tooling part, right, and the democratization part. And I think hopefully it catches up, right, before we hit full on, hockey stick scale mode.
Well, and what I worry about is that, quote unquote, people going out and, hurting themselves, again, have emphasis on the air quote kind of thing. That's the excuse for the dysregulators to come in and ruin the situation. That's the part that kind of, that again, I worry about. But no, I got the solution. Get together crypto ecosystem and develop like this AI situation that'll just can generate like, whatever waffle coin, whatever project, whatever kind of thing. And it does all the classic hype stuff. And then people, ape in all their money or so much of their money. And then it sends them a message of like, yeah, ha ha ha, this was all a joke, and quit. This is all just is all a lesson to teach you not to just jump into things without having some scrutiny, and then it sends the funds back.
Interesting idea.
So you're saying you're going to be setting up
I've been tempted. I've been tempted to make like some ridiculous project, get all these funds, and then like sit and then like ha ha, you're all idiots. There was nothing behind this. You didn't check this. You didn't check that. You didn't even look.
Someone did. I remember. I got to find the article now and I'll post it. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. There was a guy who went through basically making a fake coin. He made like a scammy coin, and then he did this long thread or article on how to do it.
I remember that.
Yeah, and do you remember that when he was done, the community decided to take it over, and they didn't want it to die. They were like, no, this is a real project now. We own it. So yeah.
That reminds me of like a really, really important kind of point that hits on a lot of these topics, and that's the value of a lot of these projects and a lot of these things. The value of Web3, a lot of the value we experience and realize in the world is in our relationships. You get a group of people together that have something in common, and that in and of itself like has a value expanding aspect for the people involved. And like Twitter, the value of Twitter isn't the software. Anyone could virtually replicate that experience. It's the user base. And the same can be said for so many other platforms and projects and things like that. It is the human beings involved and their relationships that, create the wealth there. And yes, so to that point, like these people got kind of quote unquote doped into something, but then they came together to take something with it, because they had this thing in common, and it gave them something to coordinate with and around.
Yeah, it's true. So, next week I'm just expecting Jared Woodard rug pull somewhere in the space.
JW Dow.
I've got too many other things.
JW Dow. So let's talk a little bit about some of the top posts this week on Reddit for cryptocurrency. The first one, the number one most popular this week, was that $1.1 billion in Bitcoin was just withdrawn from Binance. This was posted on Cointelegraph. That is a pretty wild number. And, anytime someone sees a big movement like that, it's usually one of two things. It's either, internal wallet movement, or it's whales getting ready to do something very suspicious, right?
Well, you pair that up with the net outflows we saw last week. I think net outflows of what was it, like 55,000 or so BTC. I think those are interesting moves. Those are interesting chain metrics, on-chain metrics.
Yeah. Typically, outflows signal bullishness. They signal someone trusting in the space and moving stuff to, say, a cold wallet or something else. Inflows generally are implied selling pressure. People moving, say, Bitcoin or something else to an exchange. It's not because they want it to sit on the exchange. It's because they want to do something with it, which is probably going to be selling, right? Or used for margin on leverage trades. So that's potentially a good sign. I know there's a little thread about it. So if you guys want to comment on it or join that. I do like the first comment though would be, thinking about the sheer size of that. So imagine being the guy or lady that had to do that transfer wallet to wallet, 55,000 Bitcoins. Imagine fat fingering that.
Let me get the sweaty palms meme ready.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me enough to have that job. No way.
If I'm moving $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, I send like $4 or $5 first to make sure I just did everything right.
Yeah. Well, what would you do? And that's a case of like, well, okay, maybe you break it up into say 10,000 Bitcoin increments, but even then you're still risking a lot. You're increasing the possibility that you fat finger something.
True, but for me, I do one test transaction, and also like I stress the ever loving hell out of myself. Like, pay attention to every single thing you're doing. I like just you have to realize the importance of what you're like. One mistake, and you've drastically messed up. And probably.
Well, what makes me the most nervous about that is just the number of decimal places that you have to keep track of. Like I mess with smart contracts and messing with values inside a smart contract.
That could be such a headache.
Such a headache because you got to add like 18 zeros to subtract 18 zeros. So like it's super nerve wracking to make sure like, did I get the right amount of zeros? If there's one less, it's a 10x under reported. If it's one more, it's 10x over. Like that's a big mistake,
gosh. Yeah, that is one of the things that frustrates me about having like on one end you've got like 5 point blah 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 token or coins or whatever. Then on the other end, it like the contract displays it in like the smallest fractionable unit. It's like, oh my god, thanks man. Now I gotta go in and like do this decimal place game.
Yeah, so maybe like people that would excel in crypto trading would be like bomb experts, the guys that defuse bombs. I bet they would do well.
It feels like that.
So the second most popular is Apple being greedy. They're not going to exempt NFTs from the App Store's 30% fee, but I saw comments that say it's pretty reasonable to get around that depending on how you buy your NFTs, or you could just not do it through those apps and buy it through something else. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, does Apple deserve 30? It really doesn't deserve 30% of anything, in my opinion. But do you think an app with NFTs that you can buy through it? I mean, a 30% cut of that?
I don't know about deserve for anything with other people's like money and what they should or should not do and those kinds of things. I know for myself, I've never owned anything Apple and just they've never gotten any of my money. So that kind of stuff goes along with it, like with the Apple Store. And I know like I'm part of teams that build wallets and have to comply with these things and stuff like that. And it's quite a nightmare to integrate Apple. I would love to see personally. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. I'd love to see it not exist anymore or conform to like the general standards in the marketplace. Because like the Apple Store just creates such a development headache. And compliance with their stuff. Now, the other side of that, to give them credit, what I have heard from devs and stuff like that is it is a very secure environment, that they do a great job of security and keeping those things updated and patched and stuff. So credit where credit's due on that end. But when it comes to like the marketplace experience, and again, like, who am I? I've never built this multi-billion-dollar, value generating, company and stuff like that. Just, I've never really enjoyed the product personally.
Well, I think it goes to free market, though. I agree. That's pretty greedy. And I think we've seen a lot of backlash, Epic Games being kind of like the biggest one to push back against the App Store, cut the fees, right? But, at the end of the day, if you want to pursue it from a free market standpoint, then don't don't publish don't publish an app on the App Store, right? If you want to, it is going to come at a cost of not being able to access that massive user base, but you do have other options. You don't have to play in the Apple walled garden, right? And if enough people decide to boycott that, then maybe Apple will react to that free market dynamic and reduce their fees or get rid of their fees. But it isn't easy. It isn't easy to curate a platform like that, especially when you have so many scam apps being submitted like every day, if not every hour. There is a human cost to that, right? There's a time cost, I should say, that you got to pay humans to do.
That's fair. But I think like again, I'm looking forward to like the Web3 world, and I know that's not where we're in, but it's like I'd like to see, or you could set something up to where you post a bond, and if you're submitting just trash, I'm going to review your product, not allow you on, and keep the bond. It pays for the person that has to review it, but
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Like how you gotta pay a deposit, for certain purchases. You gotta show that you have like not just some sort of reasonable means, but also the intent, right? I totally agree
hmm
with that.
hmm and here's sorry, this is a bit of a wild tangent, and just cut me off, Poppy, if I'm going too far off base. But like this world where people have like this digital sovereignty, and they can take their information and take their stuff and move to other platforms and stuff like that. Do you? I have a hard time seeing something like Apple, or a organization like Apple and a business structure like Apple adapting to that. Like what do they do when they don't have the walled garden so much? Because like the value is the human relationships, but when people can just so easily move to something else, what do you do there? How do they survive that? How do they adapt to that?
Education. I think that's the biggest gap right now. It just
Education.
getting people to know what's out there, how to use it, being safe, right? I
Well,
think there's a massive education gap right now, and I'm not talking about like educational systems and getting
yeah.
political about underfunded education systems. I'm talking about like crypto, Web3, digital identity education.
What I mean, like, how's a company like Apple that ostensibly makes a lot of its wealth off of like just people kind of being trapped into their world, but when the market switches to where people can easily move from digital environment to another one, take all their stuff with them, and they're no longer trusting these different entities to hold their data and stuff like that. How does something like Apple transition to that world? And I think and maybe something like Apple actually does orders of magnitude better than everyone else, because it does seem like there's a user experience situation which people seem to report very positively of. Like they enjoy the Apple product and experience because it's so much simpler and intuitive. And maybe in that end, where it's like the UI and the user experience that sets different products and ecosystems apart, maybe in that vein, Apple stands apart from everyone and actually succeeds even more in this kind of environment. I don't know, but it's something that businesses are going to have to start thinking about more and more, is how to adapt their business model to the Web3 future.
We can only hope.
I think it's coming. You're seeing those changes already. You're seeing so much dialogue, not just from the government, government's side, but also from the institutional and corporate side. So for our last,
well, speaking of corporate adoption, sorry, I know we're kind of probably dragging this on a little bit, but from just kind of related to that corporate statement, I think what also needs to happen is we need to have a little bit more of a we need the corporates to be less greedy, because I mean, what you're speaking to, there's the new Virtu phone, right? Virtu's a luxury phone maker, and they were famous back in the day for having these like multi-$100,000 phones. They just released a Web3 phone, right? Except the Web3 phone costs like, did you guys see this thing at all? It's like $40,000 for a phone, which is actually kind of cheap by Virtu standards, but it's like this Web3 phone that's supposed to be more secure and all that. Yeah, like that's great. That idea is great. That cost is just prohibitive, though. Like, who's gonna be able to get into that? Maybe it's all the bake owners that need to secure their bakes.
So there's been a couple like crypto Web3 phones, expensive phones that have come out. If anyone remembers the Siren Labs phone, that was going to be a $10,000 like super big level executive phone. Blah blah blah. This was part of the 2017 like ICO hype and projects and things like that. They don't. I guess I've never heard that go anywhere. So I'm not optimistic on something like that taking off.
Apple just needs to make one in an iPhone mini.
Plated, gold plated with diamonds encrusted on it.
Exactly.
So for the final post here coming from RCC, and then we'll get into the Q&A. Speculation post that they think someone figured out how to mint an unlimited amount of the free avatars from Reddit, is selling them on OpenSea. Now, it only has 1 ETH in trade volume, which is not extraordinary. It depends, I guess, on how long they can keep this up. But, speculation is something, ranging between they figured out how to game the Reddit system to get the free avatars to they hack the contract. In my opinion, if they found a way to hack the contract, they would have done something more than just doing these low-level avatar sales. It just would be a lot more cost-effective, right? A lot more efficient.
Exploit they found only allowed them to mint.
Yeah.
So I guess it could be probably. I hope it's not the case that happened. But are we certain that is what happened?
Too bad we don't have JW Winterm in here.
Yeah, he could make it today. Halloween. Yeah, people got trick-or-treating and parties and all kinds of things. I don't think. I mean, even the last thing on here was 2 and 3 days ago. I really suspect they found a way just, to efficient or somewhat efficiently game Reddit to do this. But at 1 ETH, I don't know how much work they put into that. That just doesn't feel like.
How is that cost effective?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you can automate everything, maybe, then you just kind of leave it running. But you can only undercut the floor so much, right?
Strange.
Yeah. So, with that, gentlemen, it's time for our Q&A. This has been fun.
I heard it. That was awesome.
What was that? You're doing the special effects now?
Yeah. Oh, did you not? Was that Jared? I thought
that was. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! You really thought that was?
I did. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna go now, guys.
You made my day.
That's even worse, Pat. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, that will be recorded for all of time on our podcast. Yeah. So let me actually look at the questions now. DGen Mango, shout out to you. You're saying if you invested in those Pixelmon, you deserve to lose money. Here's the thing. No one saw that. So the project spoiler art, or not spoiler, like preview art was a lot better than that. Some of it quite good. And so people bought I think it was like eggs or something from Pixelmon. There's kind of, it's a play on Pokemon clearly. So, people bought these and they were expecting some really baller art to come out of them, and then that junk came out.
Okay, so that answers my question. In that case, in my opinion, that's fraud. If you show me something like that looks way better than what actually comes out, it's like, yeah, no, sir, that's not cool.
Not cool. Yeah, I agree. That is not cool. When does it cross that line into fraud? I don't know. It's if people feel frauded, if they feel like they're stolen from, they can always sue.
Well, it's like
if the team's doxed, at least.
The whole like show me a picture of this hamburger and I get the other thing. And it's one thing if you're like, hey, this is just for advertisement purposes, blah blah blah. It's a whole nother thing if you're like, no, this is what you're getting.
Yeah.
And to me, that also can come to the level where like, no, this isn't necessarily like contract fraud or legal fraud or something like that, but it can definitely be like social level of like, dude, that's not cool. And, I'm taking my toys and going home. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here's a good one. We talked about FOMO earlier. Lieutenant Phantom Knight. He said he was thinking about buying some Doge, but he's new here. He's just not sure. What do you guys think? I would personally be okay getting a little bit dollar cost average on retracements for Doge, but it's already gone up over 100% in the past week. So you're talking higher risk territory if you go in big here.
Yeah. It's one.
Well, I think it also depends on your thesis, right? If you do believe that there's a big opportunity in platform integration with Twitter, then I think any significant retrace is a buying opportunity, because that's a long-term play, right? So if that is your thesis for why you like Doge, then I think right now may be a good time, right? After we cool off from a big pump, that's going to keep on happening with every big piece of news that comes out. and maybe that final pop might be on when if I should say Elon announces that it's the official micropayments currency of the platform, right? And you can pay for getting your blue check mark in Dogecoin. But it really all comes down to if that is what you believe, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's how to me, it's how long do you want to potentially hold Doge? If you're okay with that Doge sitting there for maybe 5 years, then cool. Like, let that play part of your that could be the case, could be longer. But if you're totally cool with that, like, yeah, I really don't mind that I can lock this, however much money up for 5 years, and it's not going to make any difference to me in life, then okay, how about it? And learn from the experience.
I like that. Yeah.
I do think it's going to be long term, but I don't think it's going to be like 5 years. From everything we're seeing from
I'm
Elon,
being
right?
extreme.
Yeah. I think he's going to rush all this stuff to market. As not to say it's going to be half baked or whatever. Maybe it will, but I think he's on he's under the gun. There's a timer on him.
Now Elon is a bit of a jester in the public square, let's say. And so what would his history be of like buddying up to a community and then like abandoning that or going somewhere else? Okay, now didn't he initially he was like, Bitcoin's awesome, and then like found Doge, like, no, Doge is the way, like, Bitcoin people loved Elon, and then all of a sudden he was like, no, like Doge is my love now, and everyone, the BTC maxis hated him and stuff like that. So don't discount that he may not, just my personal opinion, do not take this as any kind of trading advice, but perhaps he finds something else that he loves, in a different cycle, or man, rolls his own coin, who knows.
Yeah, he could. He has quite a few coins named after him, some of which we won't say here, but yeah. So this one. So I did see a nice little discussion about Matic or Polygon, and Built to Spinback was asking if other people are more interested in it since the avatars took off. And I agree with some of the other folks there, which is, I've always been fairly bullish long term on Polygon. I think it's performed very well as a layer 2, and even as its own independent brand. They've done a really good job of outreach into the Web2 corporate space, and also integrating with the Ethereum community. Not saying that's investment advice, but yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about Matic or Polygon? Man.
Oh man, I haven't looked into the projects too much personally. Like, it's been around long enough, and has the presence in the marketplace and the ecosystem that I wouldn't discount it out of hand. I'm just not personally too super familiar with it. Oh yeah, it's number 11 on CoinMarketCap.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm primarily a fan because their execution has been really good, and they have a really strong ecosystem that, like you mentioned there, Pap, their partnerships, right, with tech players. Because really that is the path to mainstream adoption, right? You do need to build these bridges, not crypto bridges, but like, relationship, business bridges, with the incumbents. That is the only way, right? They need to integrate with the technology that, with Web3 essentially.
So
yeah, I'm a fan of Matic.
Yeah. So I guess the consensus is we all fairly respect Polygon and wish it well. And I'll probably pick up a little bit more soon. It's one of those things I just occasionally buy a little bit of. Yeah, and then there's a lot of comments kind of comparing Reddit's success with NFTs and integration with the blockchain and where Twitter's going. And a couple people commented that with Binance and Elon backing Twitter, that there's a chance that Twitter could kind of leapfrog past Reddit and integrate faster with the Web3 space. I think that's a distinct possibility. I mean, you're talking about some of the richest people in the world here. And Binance is, they got some deep wallets. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Anything to add to that one?
Interesting. Huh. I mean, I think the potential's there. I'd be skeptical to see. It would be weird, really weird to see to see Twitter go, if it went Web3, to go Binance Smart Chain, or something like that. So that would be strange.
That'd be interesting. I can't, I would guess if I was a gambling man, I would say if Twitter does formally kind of integrate with blockchain, any blockchain, I think it's going to be multiple. I mean, the future is multi-chain anyways, right?
I absolutely agree. Yeah, that's going to be the answer. They're not going to be any, and I'm seeing that with more and more projects. As everyone knows, there's a bunch of really awesome projects coming out in the world. And so skiff.com is basically, it replaces Gmail and Google Docs and things like that. And it's all encrypted. It's and they're integrated with different blockchains, and they're going multi-chain. And so that's what I'm noticing. A lot of these new projects that are coming out, they're not getting married to one chain. And I am definitely of the multi-chain mindset.
Yeah. And when you look at how much value is locked up across the chains, because that's part of the appeal, right? When you go multi-chain on a project, that gains you access to additional liquidity, additional buyers, and additional sellers, right? But just more money that can enter the project. Ethereum really for the past year has kind of held a steady 50 to 60, actually less than that, like 50 to 55% of the market there. And then second place is almost always somewhere between 7 and 10%. And then beyond that, it just drops off, right? So expanding, say, into things like BSC or even Tron, Avalanche, Solana right now, or Polygon. Polygon just as an ETH layer 2 has 2.5% of the market value locked up for DeFi. It's pretty good for a layer 2 chain. It's actually more than some of the others like Kronos right now.
Yeah, interesting. Curious to see if options like that stick around with the cases, because it seems like there's a lot of chains competing in that space. And yeah, I don't know.
All right. I just hope maybe I said that, quoting us. I just hope the markets aren't too spooky tonight. I hope that every day. Yeah. Not the funniest thing I've said though. For sure. Let's see. Just scrolling through stuff. So if this is the first time you're here, we always just go through the comments on Discord and Reddit and look for any questions or interesting things that you guys and ladies bring up. Do we think that Twitter will add more characters per tweet?
Hey, you know what? If there's going to be like some kind of integration, especially payment stuff, let people throw some value at there. Let them pay to have like some more characters or something like that.
Yeah,
that would be that'd be funny.
I don't know. Interesting. I could see it going a little bit bigger, but the limit. I know they've upped it before, but at a certain point, you remove that limit, and it feels less unique.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Like you do have to have the hard limit still, but make it something that and I don't mind so much. It like I hey, someone posts like a wall of text. I'm like, dude, I want a conversation, not homework. What are you doing? And so I think there's an interesting avenue there for pay to play. Paid if you want more characters. But make it, I don't know, a nickel, 2 cents, doesn't matter.
All right, let's see. Still scrolling. It's a lot of comments today. I couldn't. This is built to spin back again. Oh. I couldn't be less stoked or excited on anything Meta and Zuckerberg are working on. Yeah.
Zuck's Meta is an attempted red herring to sabotage the opportunity for others in the short term.
Comments. Yeah, thanks to MEZ for clarifying.
Are we talking about Zuck or SBF? Speaking of sabotaging industries.
Bam.
Oops. Sorry.
Yeah.
Was I not supposed to say that?
So MEZ did make a good comment to clarify some of the things I said earlier about Pixelmon. It was a Dutch auction that started at 3 ETH. And that was when 3 ETH was a lot more than 3 ETH is now.
Did we lose you, Poppy?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me, Mister?
I heard you cut off at 3 ETH is now.
Oh, yeah, 3 ETH is 3 ETH. Sorry. Yeah, now you're confusing me, man. ETH cost a lot more to buy back then.
Now is a lot less. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot less. Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah, I did this comment. Meta, Twitter, Elon, Pets World. Oh, pets.com, I think you meant. The stock seems more about real world assets. It's all kind of interrelated. It's more about the Web3, right? Crypto is more than just, tokens and coins. We really view it as the entirety of the Web3 space, the different technologies, ideas, concepts emerging from that space, including NFTs, including meme coins, including everything.
It's a lifestyle, my friend.
And might as well. I think it's worth just kind of. I've been saying this more and more recently inside my circles, and I actually recently posted this in RCC using an alt. But what really chaps me is the mainstream media's perception of what the metaverse is, because and this is very much Facebook's fault, Zuckerberg's fault. But the metaverse is not VR, right? And that's what really worries me about this, is that everybody seems to they seem to conflate this idea of metaverse with the idea of VR. And VR is just one way to interact with the metaverse. But that's why we talk about all these different things in relation to Web3, because there are so many tie-ins, right? It's not just VR, it's your digital identity. And one way you can interact with your digital identity is VR. But I think, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now. Just wanted to put that out there.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
Against the CNBC talking heads.
VR is niche, and it's very awesome. It's interesting. I've got a VR set, and I think it introduces some really novel, cool things. I don't think it's going to be like the ubiquitous thing where everybody is plugged in and using it all the time. Stuff like that. It's just a niche thing here and there for entertainment purposes, and also there's absolutely some practical dimensions to VR that's really, really cool. Really awesome. I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to replace reality as our medium of interaction.
Someone just needs to tell that to Zuck.
Yeah. Well, it's like, oh, yeah.
So here's a comment from DavePatton.algo, and he's talking about Doge. He says, micropayments are fine. Okay. But can Doge do much more beyond that? And is Elon spearheading improvements in Doge? And I think it's worth noting that there is some sort of council committee, I don't remember the details, that are advising on Doge, and Vitalik is a part of that. Elon obviously has a big interest in Doge. And right there, having Vitalik engaged at all is kind of a big deal. Beyond that, yeah, if he has ways to integrate it into the platform meaningfully, that's a big win. Doge Chain. Now, I don't know how related Doge Chain is to Doge, but obviously there's some sort of relationship there. Doge Chain, I don't think, is a particularly robust chain, but it is a functional smart contract chain. So that should be, there's probably potential there, right?
Well, okay. So I'm going to put on a different hat for a moment and give a bull case on Doge, not financial advice. It's been here since 2014. It has been around for a long time. It's got a huge ecosystem of people, and primarily it's got free rent in everyone's head all over here, and everyone in crypto. That can't be understated. So it is the meme coin. And for whatever reason, it's that aspect of the internet and, the chaoticness and the for the lulz aspect of it. So I wouldn't discount. It's not that I think Doge is so amazing. It's that I don't underestimate and discount the internet for memeing this thing into perpetuity.
Yeah. Or the richest man in the world finding some way to make it more useful.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. Right. I mean, and I mean that seriously. Like, I think the next few years for crypto are going to be very interesting because we see these different angles, banks, institutions, governments, Elon Musk, all looking at ways to integrate with crypto technology, crypto concepts, ideas, Web3. And, I think most of it's going to be very positive when we look back, but, some of it may not be. Either way, it's going to be a fun ride.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Sign me up.
All right. I don't quite get this question. So maybe for next week, alarmed armadillo. Clarify, and we'll be glad to answer. But he said to each of you, what's your top crypto related headline? I'm not really sure what that means.
Oh, interesting. For what's your top crypto related headline? I know
like
mine.
News piece.
You mean what's yours? Oh, maybe. Yeah. We didn't really get into that this week, so maybe we can save that for next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
True.
We spend a little bit more time on the top Reddit posts. And do one more last scan, but I think we've answered all the questions, gents. So, yeah. Any parting words from either of you?
Let's see. There's one project that's come up on my radar, and that's Aleo, ALEO, that I'm interested in. I'm going to look into a bit more, but they're using zero knowledge proofs to basically create like a zero knowledge OS. And yes, it does have a blockchain at the bottom of it. I don't think they're still doing test nets. They said they're going to release by the end of the year. And they're looking forward to a multi-chain future where they have this private environment that different chains can transact through. So that seems like a really interesting project that just got on my radar that I'm keeping an eye on.
Nice.
Cool.
And I looked in the people involved, and they definitely look like professional players. This isn't this isn't your standard, here and there kind of situation.
Cool. How about you, mister?
No. I mean, I guess my parting words would be SBF is not your friend, guys.
Amen.
We'll leave it at that.
We'll get into that next week. That's definitely
maybe. Yeah.
I think he's just at a different stage. Yeah, I think if you go back far enough, everyone likes CZ now, but there was a point when he was picking a lot of fights in social media as well. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. This was another fun episode. It flew by. I can't believe it's almost 5 here already. Time for, I got to get the candy out, get ready for some trick-or-treaters. So thank you again. Really, truly appreciate it. And have a safe week trading.
Love you, folks.
Happy Halloween.